Hi. So these are unprecedented times, and I'm seeing a lot of people with anxiety, both through the NHS and in my private practice. And I thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about anxiety, because it can be a really, really difficult problem for a lot of us. So there's a function for anxiety. It's actually quite an important thing. And it's our way of our body trying to protect ourselves when it feels that it's under threat. So it's actually trying to be a good guy. Anxiety is felt mostly in the body. And in mindfulness, you'll know that we spend a lot of time, a good few weeks right at the beginning, of learning how to notice more about where anxiety is felt in the body. There's a really good reason for that. It's because if we can get accustomed to noticing where our anxiety is, then it gives us an opportunity and a gap, an opportunity to do something about it. Anxiety, as I say, is felt in the body. So if you're feeling a little bit anxious at the moment because everything's so uncertain, that's completely normal, isn't it? Nobody knows what's going on. Pause for a moment and think about where you feel it. It may be felt in the chest, in the stomach. It's usually somewhere around here. When that happens, the body then gives the mind a signal, and the mind then finds something to feel really anxious about. And then the mind can take up a story of its own and start deciding what's wrong, and for quite a few of us, catastrophizing. So there's usually not a good ending when the mind gets involved and starts to have anxious thoughts. So the mind will go to the worst possible case and find all sorts of ways to keep that anxiety level up. Do you remember the two cushion, or not the two, the several cushion exercise we did, where we have the original cushion on the lap of the problem, and then we pile up the cushions more and more. So in this case, it could be an original cushion of, here is Covid-19, coronavirus, and then we pile up, our mind piles up all of the cushions going up. What if I get it and I can't look after my dependents? What if I am not able to work and the bills pile up? What if everything is shut down for months and months and months, and the thing I was looking forward to in September is cancelled? What about my holiday? What about the mortgage? Piles up and up and up. So our mind gets involved, and then that in turn feeds back into the body and keeps the body feeling really anxious. So if you like, the mind kind of keeps the body playing a sort of keepy-uppy of anxiety. So anxiety is perpetuated by two areas. It's held in the body, and it's also kept going by what we're thinking about. And it therefore kind of figures that there are two ways to address it. Now, some of you may have heard of CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, and that classically does this bit. It says, what are the thoughts that are causing the emotion? In fact, it does an ABC. What's the activating event? What's the belief, the cognitive part? And then the C, what are the consequences? So what's the consequences in terms of emotion and then in behaviour? Actually, and you might remember we did that actually on the course with somebody we think was walking down the street and appeared to ignore us. So it's good stuff. And in CBT, we would spend some time looking at, well, what's the thought, and then challenging the thought. And that's great for some things, for certain things. So a way to challenge anxiety is to look at the thoughts we're having and to ask ourselves, what's the likelihood of something happening? Is it statistically proven? Are we catastrophizing? Do we know ourselves enough to think, yeah, there I go again. I know that I tend to look on the dark side. That's one way of addressing it. And that can be helpful sometimes for some people. At other times, to be honest, it doesn't just hit the sides, I don't think. It doesn't touch the sides. So we have another way of dealing with it, fortunately, which is through the body. And that's what we do in mindfulness. So in mindfulness, if you remember the turning towards difficulty, we don't sit and think about it. We don't ruminate. We notice where it's felt in the body, and then we focus our attention on that. So there are various things that we can do. We can do a mindfulness practice, of course we can. If you remember the 3-step breathing, very short, very quick, hourglass shape. Notice what's going on for us. What's the weather like? It's stormy. Are there any thoughts that are contributing to that? Yes, I'm worried about not being at work at the moment, not earning any money. What do we notice? What's the emotion we feel? It might be anxiety, it might be concern, it might be fear. And then we go to the body. Where is that felt in the body? So it might be in the chest, it might be in the stomach, it doesn't matter. It's noticing for ourselves where it is. That gives us an opportunity to then pause and take the breath to that part of the body. What we're doing is we're regulating our affect. We're regulating our whole body's ability to be able to calm itself. We do that for as long as it's necessary. Check out the recording, it's on the YouTube video for Mindfulness Chilterns. We do that for as long as necessary. We visualise taking the breath to that part of the body where it's felt, laying a blanket over if you like, smothering it, holding it close. The longer practice, the turning towards difficulty, might be good to check out as well. There we use some imagery about holding a child on our lap. So those of us are parents, or if we're not, if we've ever had a pet or know any other young children who are distressed, we'd hold them close to us. We'd soothe them. We actually can't do anything about the hurt, but just containing them and holding them has a massive, powerful effect. So we're learning to do that to ourselves. It's really important. The last part of the 3-step breathing, after we've calmed ourselves, is to notice ourselves in context again. So it might be feeling our bodies grounded. It might be feeling our hands on a steering wheel if we've pulled over to the side of the road. It might be feeling the warmth around a cup of tea. Really quick exercise, try that. Another thing we can do is square breathing, also very simple. So find something square-ish or a rectangle, and then follow that shape. So we breathe in. I'll do it quite audibly. Hold the breath. Breathe out. And then pause again before doing it again. And that also can be really, really super good for regulating the affect, regulating our breathing so that we adopt calmer breathing. Interestingly, that's what it's thought people are doing, partly to be helpful when they're smoking. If you imagine somebody taking a long drag, I've never smoked, but I watch films. So that's another really good one to help. So that's a couple of ideas about calming the body. And when our body is calm, actually that sends messages to our brain to sort of step down and get out of the fear mode, because that's what we've gone. We've gone into the threat mode, that fight or flight mode, and we're trying to get out of that. It's obvious that I'm going to suggest mindfulness because that's what I do, but also it's got a massive research base behind it to say that it really is helpful. So that was quite short. I hope you find that useful. Please do look at the practices. And if you've got any questions, just drop me an email. You know my email address, jane@mindfulnesschilterns.com, and I will be happy to get back to you. It may not be immediately because I'm pretty busy with my own stuff, my private practice and my NHS work at the moment, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I hope you're well. I hope you're able to make use of this time to kind of reconnect with things that allow you to find some peace and calm. And I've put in my newsletter this month about the idea of connecting via Zoom for the sitting group. I'm hoping that's not beyond my technical capabilities, but I will get help with that. And it would be brilliant, it'd be fun to all get together and do something on that night, the normal night. It's in the newsletter, I can't remember off the top of my head, you know what I'm like. So take care, and I hope to hear from you very soon, and fingers crossed we will be all back together again, enjoying a practice together in the not too distant future. Take care. Bye.